A Heart of Life. Click to listen to the audio of the story. Welcome again to Story Time in the Garden with Pastor Deborah. Everyone take a seat, gather around. Pastor is getting ready to tell us another story. Okay, Pastor, we are all ready. Everyone is here. Thank you, Wilbur, for getting everyone seated and quiet. Okay, everyone ready? Today's story is called A Heart of Life. Today we're going to hear about a heart, and if it was ready to step out of its closet of just being one. For one had become a very lonely number, and this heart needed to evolve, become more than what it was. And it could only do that if it stepped out of the closet of his own thoughts and bring himself out of his closet of himself. So this heart had to take a very close look at itself and answer many questions it needed to ask before it stepped out of its lonely closet of being just one. The heart that was full of life, but could it take others over a rainbow and into a realm of beauty beyond all one could imagine? Could this heart create a living garden where his very living presence would live with his creatures of his heart, his garden of Eden, a garden of his agape love and life? Could his heart live with eternity as a fixed point in his heart to keep his eyes on at all times, and yet live in the present with his creations, even when the present was to be a time of great darkness? Could his heart slowly reveal itself out into the vastness of nothingness, with the rays of shimmering, radiant colors of life and agape love? Was his heart of life that was overflowing in agape love be radiated out through the gemstones of his thoughts of beauty, his jewels of imagination, his light radiating through each stone of life and its beauty and glory? Could his heart overflow and fill all creation, be in all, and cover all with its glory? The one was asking his own heart these questions of itself, his own nature. Could his heart be the gardener out in the vastness of nothingness? Was his heart's desire strong enough, determined enough, disciplined enough to prepare the vastness of nothingness to be a garden of life, a reflection of his imaginations, and ready for his living creations and its creatures to come forth out of his womb of life, his own thoughts, his own imaginations? Was his heart ready to be a father and mother to all of creation, to all of creation's creatures, to all his children he would have to birth twice, redeem again back to his own family, to raise, nurture, to protect, comfort, to love without conditions? to love them, even want them home, back to himself, even during the long years of their absence from his family, his house, his kingdom. Was his heart ready for the great sadness that was to come, when his children left him for another, loved another instead of him, worshipped and called on others for help besides him, living in ignorance of him? Was his heart ready for this pain, this rejection, abandonment, hatred, silence due to ignorance of the darkness? Could his heart withstand the long years of tears and sorrow that his creations would endure without him? Would he still be able to hear their silent cries of the hearts dead to him, frozen in fear, filled with hate and sin, fragmented into many to survive in their spiritual captivity, in slavery, because of their first forefathers' rebellion to laws of agape love? Did his heart's imaginations have enough creativity of life to create the worlds he desired to create? Did he have the unlimited imaginations for creating valleys and dales, stars and moons, mountains and seas, green pastures of lilies of the field, living, singing flowers and ferns, trees with leaves of healing for the nations, rivers and streams of living water, ever flowing, unending, wells of living water deep unto the depths of life itself, lights to guide and give life, living creatures that are beyond description, beings of all kinds, for service to all. Then the crown of all creation, children. Did his heart contain an overflow of rejoicing and dancing, praise and worship, singing and the music to sing to, words of love and peace that would last, hold over the long years of his loneliness and separation from so much of his own creations? Did his heart overflow, have without measure, be limitless in whatever would be needed for the long ages to come for him, in every situation and for his eternal purposes? Could his heart enlarge itself to have the faith and love for all his creation, to see and believe it, for all of life to observe and then practice for themselves, even when they would reject him, leave him for another, abandon him, and follow after another? Did his heart have enough faith for his children, even when they would travel into lands of darkness, terror, the fear of death, pain and sorrow, and spiritual slavery? He asked his own heart himself, did his heart really desire to go through the pains of birth for all of life, for all of creation? Could he push out of himself all life that he had created within himself, that he had nurtured, developed from his imaginations? And now could he birth that which had been a part of himself since his beginning? Could his heart give his thoughts, his own imaginations, life through birth? Could his heart go through the act of creating, then planting, the gardening, the nurturing of his creations, his children, the weeding out, the pruning of them? Then could his heart withstand the pain and sorrow of watching his beloved family and other creatures go into great darkness and become of a different nature than his? Could his heart take the pain and sadness of watching rebellion come into many of his own creations because of their great beauty that was given to them by their Creator? Could his heart hold its anger over the rebellion of so much of his own creations turning against him and leading his own family away from him through deception? Could his heart hold itself together, or would it be fractured into many to survive the pain of the rejection and the loneliness? Would he have to put his anger, his memories of pain, in a deep place covered by a sea of forgetfulness? Did his heart have ways to still talk, communicate with, and love all his creations, even when they were slaves in darkness and would forget him and then serve and worship others instead of him? Was his heart strong enough to bear the pains of the long years of separation, loneliness from his family? Were his parenting skills, his knowledge of children good enough? Would he blame himself for his creation's fall from their high place of glory? Could he stand the lies of his parenting choice to give all his children and all creatures a free will to choose, to love him freely instead of forcing all of creation and its creatures to be forced against their will to love and obey him, their Creator, their God, their source of life, Father and Mother? Could his heart withstand the long years and years of being replaced by another, by creation itself, by their own self as their God, their Creator and their source? Was his heart strong enough to fight the battles that would lay ahead for him? Could he, in his own heart, pay the ultimate price to redeem his love of his heart, his children? Could his heart pay the price owed his own laws of justice demanded for rebellion? Did his heart love them that much that he would give all he had, himself, for them? Was his heart really ready for what laid ahead when his foreknowledge revealed to him of what was to come? So the one looked deep into the depths of his own heart to answer these questions that he needed to answer before he even took one step out of the closet of himself, out from being just one, and out into the vastness of nothingness. He took a few moments. He counted the cost to his heart. He looked at his strengths, his abilities. He looked over his purposes for himself, his heart's desires. Did he have what it was going to take? Did he have all the endless resources he would need? Was his power powerful enough? Was his heart strong enough? Was his heart resolved, determined enough? Would his heart bend when it needed to, forgive, repent from his anger, offer mercy and compassion to the very ones who had hurt him so deeply? Was his heart full enough of agape love to go the distance to eternity, the Omega? Could his heart of agape love bring about his victories that would be needed and fulfill its desire of never being one again? For he knew that one was a lonely number. He searched his heart over and over. He looked in every corner to see if it was ready. To find his answers he needed. He took the time to look and see. Now, the one says to all of you who are listening to this story of his, will you do as he did? Will you search your own heart of yourself to see if coming out of the closet of yourself, of being just one, and see if you too desire to evolve into a new life form for all of creation to see and meet? Will you look deep into your own heart and see if the journey out of being just one would be worth all what may lay ahead for you? The bad, the times of fear, the pains of discovery, the sorrows of saying goodbye to the old you. But at the end, the victory that the one, the Creator Himself, too fought for and through agape love, and found the joy that was unimaginable, and the fullness of love that would fill and overflow his heart that had been empty for too long, a heart that needed and wanted to love, to be loved, to give love freely to all, a love that would complete him, fulfill him, evolve him from being one to be in a family, having a family. If you too look and see and say yes, coming out of the closet of being just one is worth the battles, the efforts, the long road ahead. He will help you as He helped Himself out of His closet of being just one. He will help you to fly over the rainbow, live in its glorious colors of glory and agape love. He will help you to find His secret, hidden entrance to His Garden of Eden, to meet Wilbur and all the creatures of the garden, to open the treasure chest of His riches, of His agape love and glory. He will help you find Him even in the darkness of your dreams. He will leave the lights on for you to see your way, even in the darkness. He will light the path with His light, His lamp of agape love and truth for you to see the way to walk. For He too had to have light, revelations, courage, understanding for His feet to follow. That will be what the next story time is about. The light He used to light, to evolve, to step out, to become. His light that He followed. The light He lit for His own path to step out onto, out into the new life form He was to become. The light that went ahead of His feet so He would not stumble as He stepped out into the unknown, out of His comfortable life of being just one, alone in His closet of Himself. The light He will use to find you in the matrix of the darkness, of the closet of being just one. So He asks you these questions. Do you have a heart for life, for His agape love? Could you join with Him and make the journey together? A journey of change, evolving into a new life form, a new life. Would you join with Him on His road of agape love and its light of life? And that ends story time for this time. See everyone next time for another story. Time in the Garden with Pastor Deborah. Love always and forever, Pastor Deborah.